So if you've been following along, we're in our summer series, The Church is a Place Where We. If you remember, the last 5 weeks, we've been learning all about the benefits of being involved in the local church and clearing up some misconceptions that many people might have about the local church. So today we're having our service outside. Immediately after the service, we'll have the picnic. And the reason we're doing this is so we can spend some extra time getting to know one another. The scriptures call this fellowship. Now, today our topic is this: the church is a place where we can enjoy fellowship. So going way back to the book of Acts, which is a history of the early church, we find that the early church did what we're still doing over 2,000 years later. And we're doing this in Acts 2:42. It says, "And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship and the breaking of bread and prayers." So I want to focus in briefly this morning on the aspect of fellowship, because after studying for 5 weeks and having a few more weeks left after this week, we realize that the church is so much more than just walking into a building, looking forward and listening, and then walking out. So the church is relational. It's a place where we have opportunities to meet other like-minded believers, to meet people that are similar to us that love the Lord, to meet people that are different from us that love the Lord, and meet people that can share wisdom with us. We meet people that we can also share wisdom with. So in our fast-paced society and culture, sometimes it's hard to make time to meet new people. Sometimes it's hard to make time to meet new people. And that's why consistently attending church, consistently serving in ministry, and making efforts to be involved in church programs and events and studies help us to meet other people so we can enjoy fellowship. Now, Hebrews 10:24 and 25, it's kind of like the gold standard verse about meeting together for worship services. Let me tell you this. If you're still tuning in online, we're videoing this, so people will see this later. If you're still tuning in online and not coming out and meeting together, here's what's actually happening. You're actually disobeying what this passage says. And I'm not talking to the people that really can't come out, that are shut-ins. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking to people who have chosen not to enjoy the fellowship of believers based upon their laziness, or even worse. This laziness has got a grip on you, and the enemy has pretty much told you that you don't need to be around other people. So here's what Hebrews 10:24 and 25 says. It says, "And let us consider how to stir one another up to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." Now, there was a problem in the church 2,000 years ago that's similar to the problem that some people have today, and that is getting out of the habit of being in worship together. At that time, they had no connection with what was being taught. But now, because of technology, we can still hear the teaching. We can still know what's going on. We can follow a church on Facebook or Instagram and kind of know a little bit what's going on, so we feel kind of connected. And some might think, well, what's the difference? Well, I'll tell you the difference. The difference is you miss this: being together, being around other people, meeting new people. See, let's go back to the beginning when God created Adam. Everything that God created, God said was good. But when God created Adam, God said, "It is not good for man to be alone." That's when God created Eve. This is so important because it not only is the first marriage, but it also shows us that we are created to be relational, to be around other people and not be alone. Sadly, we've come to a point in human history in which people can know all about the world around them, feel connected through devices with other people, but be so alone because they have no real human contact with others. Obviously, we know that we all need time alone to work and work on our spiritual lives, to rest and recharge and spend time thinking. We need natural time alone. And I'm not talking about that normal alone and normal silence time. What I'm talking about is this social isolation with an emphasis on isolation from other believers. Do you realize that in studies about being alone, psychologists have found that when people are alone, it makes us more vulnerable to our inner critics. In life, people say things to us, right? Parents, siblings, coaches, teachers, pastors, friends, employers, coworkers, and family members. They have all said positive things to us, and they've all said negative things to us. And here's what studies find. Lonely people tend to ruminate on the negative things. Lonely people tend to ruminate on the negative things. When they're alone for extended periods of time, those things actually become our inner critic. Okay, so you hear something negative, you start to believe it, and the more you're alone, the more you kind of think that, and the more you believe it. Those negative things become what defines us. So a person that's alone all the time starts to ruminate and think about those negative things, and eventually they start to believe those things to be true about themselves. People who are alone start to feel unloved and unliked. Because they're alone, they start to think, no one wants to be around me. No one likes me or no one loves me. Obviously, that's why I'm not invited to anything and I'm here by myself. People who are alone are more susceptible to depression. So people staying by themselves alone are more susceptible to depression. If we learn one thing from this global pandemic over the last almost 2 years, we've learned this. It's very depressing to not be around other people. Some of you might think, I like being by myself on week 1. And then on week 2, you're like, I like being by myself. And then on week 3, you're like, man, it's pretty lonely around here. By week 4, you're ready to bang your head up against the wall because you feel like I need to be around other people. The reason why is that's the way God created us. People who are alone have been found to have more physical health issues after long periods of time alone. See, God knew all along that it isn't good for us to be alone. In Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12, it says this, 2 are better than 1, because they have good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. Again, if 2 lie together, they keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, 2 will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. So this verse teaches us that together we can accomplish things. Together we can accomplish things. 2 are better than 1 because they have good reward for their toil. Do you know it took a ton of people to get this day ready? Okay, it took a ton of people to come here this morning and set everything up. It took all of you and your hands to make the food and whatever's in here and all the things to set everything up. I can't do this alone. You can't do this alone. 2 are better than 1 because they have good reward for their toil. Many hands make light work, right? Together we can do more to serve the community. We can reach more people for the name of Jesus. This verse teaches us together we have help when we fall. Falling spiritually or falling physically, we need help. It says, for if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. Through church, we can find others that are also pursuing spiritual strength in the Lord. We could share ideas on how to sharpen our spiritual lives. Many of you may have been brought up in families that didn't have a spiritual history, didn't point you to the Lord. So then you come to church and you're starving to meet other people that actually love the Lord, that actually encourage you, that actually want to spiritually strengthen you. That's part of why we're here as a church, so we can meet together like that. So we can meet other people and find other people. You know, you might actually find people that you never thought you would be friends with, but because of their relationship with the Lord, you've struck up a friendship with them. They might have nothing else in common with you besides being a Christian, but they might be one of your best friends because of their faith in the Lord. These verses teach us that together we have comfort. It says again, if two lie together, they keep warm. Remember that inner critic that's telling you that you can't do something? Here you can meet people that can comfort you and encourage you to not give up, to remind you that if you try and fail, that doesn't mean you're worthless. It just means that either it's not what you're supposed to be doing right now, or there was a big lesson that you needed to learn about yourself and about the world around you. These verses also teach us that together we have strength. It says, and though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. See, we're going to learn more about these things in the future weeks, but the point is this: we are better together. We are better together, meeting together each week for that constant connection. And you know what's so important? You might lose track of people pretty easy, right? You might have a lot of people in your life. It's hard to keep up with people. But one of the things that I love and value about the church on Sunday, this is just me talking personally, not me as a pastor, just me talking personally, is if I can't keep up with everyone in my life, at least I know I'm going to see them on Sunday. At least I know I'm going to see them on Sunday so we can reconnect again. That's part of the reason why we did one big service today, so you can connect no matter what. You didn't have to ask your friend, what service are you going to? Okay, you're going to the 10:30 because that's the only one. And now you're here and you could spend a few minutes talking to one another. See, not only did God create us for relationship, he created us in such a way that we would thrive in faith-centered relationships. And that's one of the reasons why we come together each week for worship, so we can find those people and find those relationships. Do you know that Jesus modeled fellowship with his disciples? You know, he did that, and one of the best illustrations of that is what we're going to observe next, and that is communion. You know, Jesus got together with his disciples. It was the night that he was betrayed. He got together and he was like, hey, listen, guys, I wanted to meet with you. I want to have a meal with you. I want to spend time with you. I want to fellowship with you. So what he said is, as often as you come together, I want you to do this. I want you to remember who I am and what I've done.